It's hard to say what to talk about. I've been HIV positive for 33 years, infected in 1983 from a factor transfusion for hemophilia. I was tested in 1985 because the CDC wanted all people with hemophilia tested, and I actually told them at that time that I did not want the results. And then I met a woman in 1989 and started dating. And on our second date, I called the hemophilia treatment center where the test was, and I asked them for the results, and they told me I was positive. And on my second date with this woman, I told her I was HIV positive, and all she wanted to know is if her 5-year-old son was in danger of anything. So I took her to my hemophilia treatment center, and they told her there's no danger as long as our son stays away from my needles. And she said, then that's fine. She has no problem with my status. She likes me. And at that point is when I fell in love with my wife, my now wife, then my girlfriend. But yeah, we're still married. I adopted her 5-year-old son. He's my son now. But I've seen the ravages of HIV. I've been there from the beginning. I've lost many friends, many acquaintances. I've seen the dark side of bigotry and hatred. I've lost a job and friends because of HIV. Job, they knew about my status, but as soon as I started taking medication, they told me I couldn't do my job anymore. I was an air traffic controller, and the FAA said that the medication I was taking would mess with my thought processes, and for safety reasons I could no longer do my job. Even though I had a flight surgeon as an HIV doctor who guaranteed them that there was no problem, I had psychological tests done that showed there was no problems, I still lost my job. It was the best job I ever had. I loved being an air traffic controller. So instead of dwelling on the past and feeling sorry for myself, I decided to go back to school. I got my bachelor's degree. I went on and got a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling, and I became a rehabilitation counselor. And I started helping people with disabilities and HIV and hemophilia to get through and to deal with the issues they were facing. I'm very active in the AIDS task force in my state. I've been an AIDS educator for 30 years, as well as hemophilia educator. I've never been afraid of HIV. I kind of assumed in 1985 when they first tested me that I was, because 90% of people with severe hemophilia from that era were infected with HIV, so I just assumed I was. And when I found out I wasn't, it didn't depress me, it didn't scare me. It's strange, I've never been afraid of HIV. Just like hemophilia, I knew I could overcome it, I knew I could beat it. And I had faith in science to finally do something about it. And now, HIV is not a death sentence like it was for many people I knew. It's treatable. And eventually I think they'll cure it. But what bothers me the most is the hatred I see. Still, to this day, I mean, it's 2016. It's the same hatred I saw back in the 80s. The stigma involved. People just don't understand, and that's why I went into education. I went into education because I knew that the only way to fight ignorance is to educate. And I've done a lot. When I do sessions where I talk to people, I don't look like I'm HIV positive. I don't tell people when I do educational sessions. I talk to them about HIV and what HIV is, what it's done, what the stigma is. And at the end of the session, I ask everybody in the room, do they know somebody with HIV? And usually about half the crowd raises their hand, the other crowd does, the rest of them don't. And I say, well, everybody can raise their hand now because you do know somebody. It's me. People need to know what HIV is. They need to know the history of HIV. They need to know what it has done to not only the hemophilia community, but to the world at large, to the vast majority of people who are infected with HIV, who have family infected with HIV, who have lost family to HIV and AIDS. It's sad that in 2016 we still have people who are ignorant about it. And what's even sadder is the younger generation who are coming along and have heard about HIV and AIDS, but are not taking it as serious as HIV is. I've seen young people being infected with HIV because they don't take it seriously. The AIDS task force I work on, I've seen a resurgence in young gay men with HIV, and it's unnecessary. If we can get PrEP approved, if they would take PrEP or if they would use condoms, but they don't think about HIV anymore, and it's sad to see somebody who does that. And I'm not blaming them, it's not their fault, they've moved on, and HIV hasn't. It's still there though, and they have to know their history. They have to know how it affects their lives. The hemophilia community alone was almost wiped out by HIV. And then when they found out about the product in this country and stopped the product in this country, they sent it overseas and infected other countries. That's criminal, and nobody's ever been called to task for it. I'm angry, but anger doesn't accomplish anything. Education, awareness, love, and understanding makes accomplishments. My biggest goal in life is to educate the world. My biggest want in life is for everybody to love everybody for whom they are, and stop being hateful. Love one another. Be who you are. Thank you for listening.